But a commitment is a way of guaranteeing the outcome.
Relationship is about freedom, right? The freedom to be who you are.
So, like when we say we're going to have a fearless love,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no other outcome. And we
Mm-hmm.
made sure of it. We like nothing, our marriage is sacred.
So scientifically, they say you have like 2 million impulses per second that comes into your brain over the senses. You're only able to process like 40 impulses a second, which I still feel is a lot. Just imagine we could process 2 million impulses a second. I think we would go mad, probably. Like, so if you don't tell your brain that this is important, I want to do this, then probably all the impulses get kicked away because they're not important.
So tell me about today's topic.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a topic. I was reflecting on the on the topic. Yeah, I was reflecting on the topic of commitment. How important is it to commit to commit to a goal? Like if you want to set a goal and reach a goal and do something, how important is it to commit to it? Like the word commitment. Is there a need for it or is that unnecessary? You can just start and go and do the next step. And yeah, I was thinking about that. How do you feel about this?
There's no question that you can just start and go. There's no question. But a commitment is a way of guaranteeing the outcome.
Hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
A commitment is uh, eliminating any other outcome.
Hmm.
So like we're gonna do something. If we commit to it, then then it's gonna happen no matter what. That's our
Hmm. Hmm.
commitment. Our commitment is literally it's gonna happen
Hmm.
no matter what. We're gonna make it
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm.
That's our
So what's the
commitment.
what's the like I have a customer, I talked to a customer today and she's kind of not doing the things we agree on and she's always having so many excuses why she couldn't do that and so I was talking to her about how committed you are. And she was like, yeah, I'm totally committed, but she's not. Like, so I was reflecting on, so what makes the difference? Like, if you say I commit, oh, what makes the difference here?
The difference is the amount of confidence that you have that you can make it happen.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I always, so how I explained it to her was, so scientifically, they say you have like 2 million impulses per second that comes into your brain over the senses. We're for sure not able to work these through. Do you say it like that? I don't know how to
Process.
say it. Yeah, to process them. You're only able to process like 40 impulses a second, which I still feel is a lot. Just imagine we could process 2 million impulses a second. I
Wow.
think I think we would go mad, probably. Like but like you have only 40 and these 40 they like you get these 2 million in over your senses and then you have that filter system. It's a system that goes over your reference experiences. And so if you don't tell your brain that this is important, I want to do this, then probably all the impulses get kicked away because they're not important. Yeah, and so
For sure, for sure.
there's a physical action necessary to commit. So it's not enough to say I'm committing. It's also not enough to write a newsletter. It's committed. I'm committed. It's not enough to type it. You can do it, but I always recommend like to write a commitment, print it out, and sign it with a handwritten signature. So that's your hand is you're touching the pen. So there are many senses involved. And so you give a clear sign to your brain, I want to reach that goal. It's important to me. And your brain's like, huh, obviously she wants to reach this goal. Yeah.
So as you said, the action part of the commitment is actually integral for sure. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. It's
Mm-hmm.
super important. And beyond simply writing down the commitment, I think it can be important also to actually take an action towards the goal.
Oh
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a large action, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean just to like cement it in, just to
Mm-hmm.
like and just to give yourself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one tiny
Mm-hmm.
success gives you
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit of confidence and
Mm-hmm.
just say um so you want to make a plan of action. What would you commit to? What would you just give me something to
Oh,
use
I
as an
want to lose some
example.
weight to wear a bikini in the summer. I think that's
Right.
pretty good for spring. And yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So what would be the action
Is
plan?
it is it doable? Like
Yeah.
do you believe in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so you believe it's possible. That's
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the next thing is I would say is to make a little bit of a plan, like an action plan.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be meal planning, like the way that I eat has to change, the way that I
Mm-hmm.
exercise has to change,
Mm-hmm.
and there's simple things and complicated things you can do, but it has to go somewhere into a
Mm-hmm.
plan. You have to write it
Mm-hmm.
down. If you're gonna like schedule your exercise, you have to actually schedule your exercise. So
Mm-hmm.
I commit to being in at a specific level of physical fitness or a specific weight by a certain date,
Mm-hmm.
and here's my meal plan,
Mm-hmm.
here's my schedule for my exercise,
Mm-hmm.
and do one workout or like go to the grocery store and do the shopping.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
your action. You do all of that at the same time, and that's your commitment. And I commit to it, and I'm committed to it. When I say I'm committed to it, that means I'm married to it. That means
Mm-hmm.
that no matter what happens, I'm committed still to the outcome. I'm going to achieve, I'm going to continue until.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're married. So you committed to me
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, yeah,
So
I
you
did.
could, yeah. So because we also signed that. So I'm not sure, like I was the one who wanted to get married and you were the one who was not. So I don't know, like I don't want to get married in my life. And so when
I
we
have a history
married,
with relationships.
yeah. So when we married, it was kind of afterwards, I was like, you don't need a marriage. And I think it was the other way around for you. Like we kind of set us free from our beliefs, right? You were
Yeah,
free from the belief you should better not marry, and I was free from the belief that I should marry. That's
right.
interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it was interesting. And so yeah, so truly for me, I didn't feel that it was necessary. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel that it was necessary, and so I have a history with relationships, and I probably had some buried like fears around it,
Mm-hmm.
and I always said I wasn't going to get married, and
Mm-hmm.
then you came along, and you're the best thing that ever happened to me in my life in relationships, obviously, and once I realized that like you were kind of like tiptoeing around it a little bit,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
realized that at some point that it was important to you, and I was like, well, okay, so it doesn't matter. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter like what I think about marriage or like what, you know, like is it real or is it needed or is it whatever? None of that shit matters anymore because it's important to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to you, then it's important to me. So
Mm.
that's how relationships work. So
And wasn't
yeah.
it a funny
So
story? How
yeah.
you proposed?
Yeah, I think maybe you weren't expecting it.
No,
Which
I
but
wasn't. I for sure not in this moment though.
yeah,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah, it
great.
was great.
And
It was great.
yeah, we did it our own way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it wouldn't have worked with any other. People are probably going to ask me like, how'd you do that? How'd you propose to her? What is it like?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to do what I did because it won't work
Mm-hmm.
with any other woman.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Because it's like it was so intimate and
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah,
something for us. But
yeah,
like you mentioned one thing which is for sure very important is that relationship is about freedom, right? The freedom to be who you are. And I feel like in a relationship, you are also setting your partner free from limiting beliefs. Like you were convinced due to your relationship history that a marriage is something bad. Maybe there's some childhood thing going around this too.
right,
And
yeah.
um but I set you free from that limiting belief. And I was kind of convinced that I need to have that princess wedding thingy. And that's also not true. So I feel commitment in that way. Yeah, it's also like you sign something, but what about if people couples decide not to marry? How do they commit? Do they sign something together? Like how would they commit? If you say it's a physical act?
Right, right. So it would be a very personal thing, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure if I have a good answer for that. But what I would say is that it is a decision. It is
Mm-hmm.
the elimination of any other outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we say we're gonna have a fearless love,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no other outcome. And we
Mm-hmm.
made sure of it. We
Mm-hmm.
like nothing, our marriage is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Yes, it is.
relationship is sacred. It
Yes.
it it's if you take the position that it doesn't matter if we're married or not, then
Mm.
you can just go ahead and say the relationship is sacred.
Yeah.
The relationship is sacred, and that means that there's no outside forces that can influence it. There's no nothing that can paint it or um, toxify it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is sacred. It is to be held sacred. We put it in a special place in our
Mm-hmm.
lives,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing that can harm it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. There's no person. There's no. It doesn't matter who it is or how close they are to us or who they are in our lives. No person can infiltrate our
Mm-hmm.
marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I was having that summit in Germany, as you know, and we talked about relationships too. And there it was a big topic. Like I said, put your partner first, which doesn't mean you put your partner first before your own needs, because you need to take care of your own needs first, because if you don't take care of your own needs, you're not be able to give love to someone else. But put your partner first, and there it goes on behalf of the job. Like it's before the job, the relationship. It's before the hobbies. It's before the friends. And now it gets critical. And we had like a big discussion there. I said, put your partner before your kids. And that's very difficult for women. Like they say, my kids are more important, the most important, they're part of my life. And yes, I have kids too. And it is like kids grow up, kids move out. So there are a lot of divorces around the time that kids move out because the, they weren't putting their partner first. And if the kids move out, then there's only the two. And if the relationship is not good, then it crashes here and it gets into a divorce. So that put your partner first before your kids doesn't mean that you always push your kids aside, but you have to have like certain times where you say, okay, now it's my time with my husband or with my wife or with my partner or with my whoever that is, and you tell the kids to, and it's okay for the kids to learn that too. It's okay for kids to learn that adults have also me time or couple time or whatsoever. Yeah, and that was a big discussion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Right.
But
And
they
and
they agreed.
right. Well, yeah, most people do when they think about it, but most people say that without thinking about it
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they when people say the kids come first before the relationship, usually that comes from some kind of fear around that the relationship won't be permanent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is the fear that the relationship won't be permanent that is what's going to kill the relationship
Mm-hmm.
eventually. So
Ye-
so the in my life, so I have kids too, and they're extremely important to me. In fact, I would go as far as to say that my kids taught me how to love because when you are able to love a child that can't love you back when they're an infant and all they have is needs, you
mm-hmm.
learn a lot from that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so parenthood has been extremely good for me in that way. But I completely agree with you that the marriage comes, when we say the marriage comes first and the marriage is sacred, that means it trumps all else.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
as a father and as a husband, in my world, I've also made a second commitment, which is that everyone in my life will get what they need from me.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely rare that you have to choose between
Yeah.
your partner and your children. That's incredibly rare. Like have a little creativity and give it a little thought, and you can come up with a way to make sure that everybody gets what they want.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
like your partner wants to go on a date, but the kids need to be picked up from school. So reschedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like like the date can happen. It's not that the
Mm-hmm.
date can't happen
Mm-hmm.
45
Mm-hmm.
minutes later. Go
Mm-hmm.
pick up the kids,
Mm-hmm.
take them home, tell them you love them, and then you go on the date.
Mm-hmm.
It's those kind of like that's like a kind of a generic example, but I mean, people always think like I have to have this value that my kids come first, and I don't think that that's necessary. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone comes first, and my marriage is sacred.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.